guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming at you with another book review. This one is a historical proper romance, and it is also by Josie S. Kilpack. I have read a couple of her books these past couple of weeks, and I really like her as an author. I think she's a good author, so if you just want to look up her name and see what other books she has out there, you're more than welcome to. I know she has quite a few, but this one is called Forever and Forever, and this one is, like I said, it's a historical proper romance. So it is the courtship of Henry Longfellow, who is a poet back in the 1830s in America, and Fanny Appleton. So these are real people, which I kind of find, which is what intrigued me to this book in the first place, was that it was real people, but with some fiction thrown in there so that it didn't get boring. I know that's so bad to say, but I actually, even with this book with some fiction thrown in it, I had a hard time getting through it, but it was a good read. It took me probably till I was to page 50 or 60 to really be like, oh, this is a really good book. Just because with the historical romance, there's a lot that you have to build up, and she threw in a lot of real elements to the book in the first few pages so that you have something to follow. But this book is about Fanny Appleton, which her real name is Frances, but people called her Fanny, and Henry Longfellow. It's their love story. So it starts off with they're in Europe touring the countryside. Fanny's had two major deaths in her family, the death of her mother and her brother, and she is on her way to go see her cousin who is taken to his sickbed as well. And they're in Switzerland at this time, and they get a note. It wasn't uncommon for people back then to, when they're on these big tours, to meet up with fellow Englishmen of their country and have their paths cross. It was usually of the same caliber. And when I say of the same caliber, it was like of the same social class. So it wasn't typical that a writer or a poet would meet with this higher society with this higher society family. But it just worked out that they had read the book that he had published before, like 10 decades earlier, and it's what inspired him to go on this trip. And so they decided to meet up with him. When they met up with him, it was just a chance meeting, and Fanny wasn't very nice to him. She, first off, told her father not to respond to this man's card that he had left on their door because she didn't want another old man at the dinner table that she had to talk with. And most of the time when these poets would come, or these writers would come, they were sometimes looking for a handout, and she just didn't want that aspect to be brought into their fun little Europe trip. And so, especially with her cousin being ill, she didn't want him subjected to that. And so, anyways, it turns out that Mr. Appleton and her brother Tom Appleton run into Henry and invite him to dinner, and he ends up confessing to her brother on his way into dinner at their house that he has gone through a lot of sorrow, and he probably wasn't the best person to have over to dinner. He just didn't know a nice way to decline because his wife has passed away during his trip in Europe. And Tom said that not to fear, he would try to deter the evening from that event. Anyways, Fanny wasn't very nice to him and made him awkward at the dinner party, but yet he was still invited to come the next day for tea at their place. And anyways, they end up growing this relationship in Europe. And then Henry has to go back to the States before the Appletons do. So when the Appletons return home, Henry is very excited to reacquaint himself with them and to see them again. He does just that. He's very excited to see Fanny. He has this connection with her that he's so excited for. He ends up forcing her to take German lessons, and she is not happy about it at all. And amongst that, he ends up proposing to her, and she tells him no. And the reasons for her no are very social class. It's because he's poor. She will not marry him. She will not leave behind the life that she has. And so this story, that happens pretty early on in the book, and this story just unfolds to Fanny discovering herself and finding herself and seeing if marrying Henry is really the right thing to do, if she was right in rejecting him or if she was wrong in rejecting him. And it turns into this beautiful love story that I think Josie Kilpack has illustrated quite lovely, and the ending is just perfect. I will say, once you are done reading the book, once you get to the very end, there are chapter notes at the very end that you should read. It includes the actual historical references made in each chapter. And so it actually says like what parts were true and what parts she added to make a story, which I absolutely love. It also gives at the end of the chapter notes how many siblings Fanny, or how many kids Fanny and Henry, oh, that gives it away. It also gives at the end of the chapter what happened to Fanny and Henry's life together. For those of you who may or may not know, they do end up getting married. If you know anything about this American history poet, they end up getting married, and so it ends up giving a little bit of their story and what happens to them. Something that I did find cool also that she listed in this book is the house that Henry Longfellow and Fanny Appleton end up living in is now a national park. And so if you live in the Boston area, you could go see this. It is the Craigie House, or Craigie Castle is what Henry Longfellow called it, is now a national park, so you can actually go see it in Boston. And it gave a little bit of information of how they acquired the house, and even the bridge that crosses over into Boston to where Fanny lived that he walked every day has been rebuilt and named after Henry. It's now the Henry Longfellow Bridge. It just gives some information, which is fun. It was a fun read for me because it gave me the escape that I need from my busy everyday life, but then it also gave a little bit of history, and it makes me want to go back east. I went back east when I was a freshman in high school, but this one made me want to go back east and go see that again, like specifically that site. So just because I missed it, I didn't see that when I was there, and I think it's so cool when like those old historical homes are still there from forever ago. It's been my dream since I was a little girl to live in like a big, huge, gorgeous plantation home that's been there forever and has secret quarters and secret doors and passageways that nobody knows about. I know that's a little fantastical, but it's true. Anyways, so I hope you guys enjoyed this book review. I would highly suggest checking it out. You can pick it up at your local library. I picked mine up at Deseret Book. And for me, it is a keeper, and I'm so glad that I have it in my collection now. Also, there is a cheaper mode if you can't find it at your local library but want to give it a read. You can always check it out on Thrift Books, which I will leave the link down below. I'm not affiliated with Thrift Books. It's just something that I have found through time that I actually absolutely love to use. I never get a book that's below good quality. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching today. You can follow me on all my social media sites. I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as you can follow me on Goodreads to catch up on what my latest book is. I will leave that link down below, as well as all my other social media sites. And as always, be polished, wear polished, and a little superstition never hurt. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.